With Flo. Hi there, Flo.
Hi, Kat.
Yesterday it was all about that probe landing on a comet, wasn't it? Back to more terrestrial matters today. There's been a landmark ruling in the European courts, in fact, against a big hot button issue here.
That's right. That hot button issue is the so-called benefit tourism. Basically, the court ruled that a Romanian woman who had immigrated to Germany was not entitled to unemployment benefits because she made no effort to find a job. Now, you can see the front page of Le Figaro here that's talking about how Europe is really launching a debate on access to social aid for foreigners. And Le Figaro, a right-wing newspaper, really applauds Europe's top court for this ruling, which in effect allows richer EU countries to limit the access to welfare benefits for citizens from poorer EU countries who are perhaps taking advantage of their social safety net. Le Figaro in its editorial says that finally Europe is going in the right direction. It's reassuring that the EU is addressing this issue of benefit tourism, which, it must be said, is very controversial and divisive in the EU. But Le Figaro says this is proof that the EU is paying attention to the fears and the exasperation of its citizens.
Well, this is certainly one of the issues that have really galvanized a lot of people to vote for parties like the National Front, the far-right party here in France, isn't it?
Absolutely. But what's interesting about this court's decision is that it's really drawn support from the right, but also from the left. And this is another article in Le Figaro that points out that it's really drawn support from across the political spectrum. So this is a rare headline in France, where you can see that it says that it's drawn support from the FN, so the National Front, to the PS, the Socialist Party, and it's never happens really in French politics for this to happen. And the only party that's upset about this is the left of the left wing, essentially the communist parties, etc. So let's take a look at an article in the communist paper L'Humanité, which is critical of the European Court of Justice for defending the notion of national preference, a notion that's usually championed by the National Front Party. According to L'Humanité, this is going to give wings to all those who say that rich European countries shouldn't have to deal with all the misery of the world. And L'Humanité says this is a very strange decision that essentially turns citizens from struggling EU countries like Bulgaria and Romania into second-class citizens.
It is certainly a topic that's had a lot of people talking, isn't it? Le Parisien, aujourd'hui en France, is taking a look at what this concept actually is. What is benefit tourism?
That's right, and how true is this concept? That's what Le Parisien promises today, is to see it, what's true and what's false about this concept. And they interview an economist, Antoine Matt, who, does the math about all this. And he says that actually there's not that much benefit tourism in France. Foreigners, whether they're EU citizens or non-EU citizens, don't actually really take advantage of the very generous social system here in France. For instance, in 2012, only 13% of those receiving minimum wage were foreigners. And he says that figure has hardly changed in the last 10 years. And so he says this ruling isn't actually going to change things, but it is very symbolic.
All right. Papers also looking at an issue that really got a lot of people angry recently, the death of an environmental protester last month.
That's right. Now, the police and the government drew a lot of criticism for their response to the death of Rémi Fraisse, who was killed by a police stun grenade in clashes over a very controversial project to build a dam in southwestern France. Now, what you're seeing here is the front page of Libération. They're focusing on what the ministers actually knew, because new court documents that have been leaked reveal that police actually initially withheld information about the circumstances of his death. And Libé says that governments also withheld this information, and it's very critical of what it calls the political cynicism of hoping to withhold this information and therefore maybe not make it into such a big issue.
All right, finally now, we're going to look at a publication we don't usually feature on the Daily Press Review. This is pretty much France's equivalent of Rolling Stone magazine, isn't it?
That's right, Les Inrecuptibles. And guess who's on the front page today? It's Alain Juppé. Alain Juppé,
that well-known rock star politician.
Well-known rock star politician. He's definitely channeling his inner rock star. He's 69, looking pretty cool here on the front page of Les Inrecuptibles. Could he be the least worst of them all, Juppé Mania? He, of course, has said that he wants to run for president in 2017. He tells the magazine that he's in favor of adoption for homosexual couples. Quite a surprising comment from him.
Definitely.
Maybe he's trying to draw some voters here.
Very interesting indeed. Thanks very much, Flo, with a look through the French papers. We're going to move on to look at what's making headlines online in web news.